Halli Casser-Jayne, and welcome to the Halli Casser-Jayne Show, where, along with my partner in politics, veteran White House correspondent Matthew Cooper, we slice and dice all things politics, and some days, Donald Trump, too. On this episode of the Halli Casser-Jayne Show, there are a lot of questions that need answering as election 2020 draws near. Can we believe the polls showing that Joe Biden is ahead? How much effect will the rising cases of COVID-19 nationwide have on the outcome of the race? How far is Donald Trump willing to go to retain his presidency? Is Vice President Mike Pence willing to kill Americans to win re-election? What happens if the election is thrown to the Republican-packed Supreme Court? Will Senator Bernie Sanders be able to contain the progressive wing of the Democratic Party through Election Day? Can Democrats split the Senate? What about red states moving to blue? These questions answered, and even more, this week on the Halli Casser-Jayne Show. Always available at hallicasserjayne.com, on all your favorite apps, and on your Alexa device, too. Hold on to your hats. Here we go. Welcome, my friends. Here's where we are this week. Yes, we've reached yet another milestone, a weekly event, of course. We've reached 9 million cases of COVID-19 in the United States, more than 231,000 dead. And on the job front, the picture isn't good either. We plateaued in jobless claims at around 800,000 per week, according to the Department of Labor. However, it's not a full picture. They're saying it's closer to 1 million. And while the gross domestic product numbers appear to have rebounded in the last quarter, there are those who are saying that's just a rear-view mirror statistic because coronavirus is raging. I don't know if I can say that big enough, loud enough, long enough, raging across the country, worse than in the first wave. We know what's coming, and with that in mind, there are, Matthew, hold on to your hat, 4 days, 15 hours, 40 minutes, 17 seconds until election 2020. But who's counting? Are you counting, Matt?
No, not at all.
Can I just tell you, I'm limping. I must have set November 3rd as some sort of milestone in my life. And you know how that gets when you set something and you're waiting. I am literally limping to this election. You feel the same way?
Yeah, I feel like it's been going on forever.
It has been going on forever.
I mean, I just feel like we've been talking about it forever.
It's so sad that we have to change this. If we get through this, I'm telling you, we need to put some, stoppers on this. This cannot be a 4-year event. It's insanity to do this. But here we are. It's finally almost next Tuesday, and that long American nightmare might be at an end. Is it going to be the end of Donald Trump? What do you think?
Well, if I had to guess right now, based on everything we know, I do think he'll lose in a few days. Sure, I think the polls are one indication. But I think we have a big indication in who's voting dramatically so far, that this, run-up has been dominated by Democrats voting and a wave of enthusiasm on their part. You don't want to say never. I mean, Trump has, still has a lot of support, especially when you consider all that's happened to the country in the last 6 months. But 8 months. Overall, I think the conventional wisdom is right. I do think Biden will win.
How come I'm not as sure as you are?
Well, you're right to be cautious. I think we all have PTSD after 2016. I was at Trump headquarters in New York that night, and, the Trump people really didn't think they were going to win, and the press didn't, and yet he did. So you're right to be wary.
Yeah, I just think the polls are kind of strange, actually. I know that there's this. You've mentioned this 1,000 times, and I think this is part of your brilliance, and that is Trump never got above the 50% mark, and he still isn't as we speak. He's just not likable. That said, I don't know. I think it. Do you watch Real Clear Politics? Do I go there, and that's kind of like where I start, and I say, oh, I watch that from day to day, and you can make yourself a little nuts if you make yourself, if you do that from day to day. But of course, at the very last minute, the polls are going to tighten. But I don't know, they seem to be tightening a lot. That's what has me concerned. Faster than and still 5 days away. So.
Yeah, look, I mean, Trump can hold on to a lot of the states. He won last time that are battlegrounds. I mean, I think he can win Florida. You would know better than I. He can win North Carolina. He can hold Georgia and Arizona. I think Biden is certain to win at least a couple of the upper Midwest states. And then you're into a very close race. But I don't know. I do think things tend to break against the incumbent at the end when they're in trouble, and I kind of think that's where we're at. We'll know soon enough.
Right. I like this because I'm the cautious one, and you were usually the more cautious of the two of us. But you're better at statistics and all of that jazz.
I do think there is a big difference because this early voting matters, because when you get your votes in the can early, that's a lot less effort you have to make to get people out at the last minute. That means when their guys disproportionately have to go to the polls, they're going to face long lines or potentially bad weather, or they have to get recruited. They have to get dragged out of their houses at the last minute. And the Trump campaign is, pissed away $1 billion. So,
yeah, all right.
I don't know. I just feel like things are still good for Biden.
And you don't see any October surprise coming?
I think we're past that, and I think Biden's run a good race in which he's, come across as unobjectionable, if not likable.
Well, definitely.
I mean, there are just none of those Hillary. I just don't think.
Right, I get that.
People are gagging on him the way a lot of people, I think, unjustifiably, but nevertheless, just couldn't swallow Hillary. And, we'll see. But I think.
Let's take it here for a minute. You just said something that touched something in me. There's such a thing as being the right person for the right time. And I think Joe has that. I mean, this was just meant to be Joe's moment. He's coming across almost as an FDR. And I love that he doesn't take Trump's bait. I mean, with such dignity, he just continues to go on and lets everybody else be the bad guys and put the crap out. But there is a certain quality to Biden at this stage of his life that he seems to come across as, the father of the country.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right, and I think the things that were considered burdens for him last time, his age, his penchant for bipartisanship, his being around so long, all those things that were supposed to kill him in the primaries have now turned out to be kind of assets in the general election because they just seem somewhat calming compared to, Trump getting loopier every day. So I think all those things are working in Biden's favor at the moment. We'll see. And I think for a president of the United States not to have enough money here at the end is really extraordinary. I mean, that campaign is just, that Trump campaign, what they, I don't think the full story has been written about how they blew all that money.
But I'll say this. Why are we surprised? He can't run a business. Why are we surprised? I mean, how many bankruptcies, how much debt?
No, we shouldn't be. But, the problem is they normally, even if you're grotesquely incompetent, the money just comes in at a rate that, you can put up with that. But the problem is they really just didn't get the small donor fundraising down. And so they have all these big time fundraisers where like Trump has to schlep out to California at the last minute, and it costs, $3 to raise $4.
Right.
Whereas all this small donor stuff is, basically no overhead. And, it's pure money.
Well, since we're on money.
An incredible amount of money.
Of course. Since we're on money, Florida Senator Rick Scott, who's a gazillionaire who, stole his money. That's a story in and of itself. And then he made the career that he made as governor, two-time governor, now is in the Senate, when he admitted fraud and was fined how much money to get out of going to jail? Donated six figures yesterday or last night to the Trump campaign in Florida. And, I don't think he did it for Trump, by the way. I think he did it for himself. Because Trump goes down in Florida, regardless of what happens overall. It's going to be hell for he and Marco Rubio. I mean, it's just going to be hell. So I think there's that kind of thing. But that's where he's getting money now. I don't think a United States Senator, by the way, a sitting United States Senator who represents a state should be doing that, and there should be laws against that. But that's another conversation. You got any thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, it just shows you how desperate the president's situation is. And normally it's the other way around. The president's able to kind of direct money in a way that helps the Senate candidates. And Scott's not even a Senate candidate. So I think I just feel like the money is just one of many indicators that things are in better shape for Biden. I can't imagine anyone looking at this race saying, I'd rather be Trump than Biden right now.
I totally agree. I totally agree.
That doesn't mean Trump can't win. I just don't think he will win.
Well, from your mouth to God's ears. Let's go down some more rat holes here. Things that have come up since last we spoke. The Hunter Biden thing. That I do want to bring that up. I can't keep track of it. It seems completely bizarre to me, the whole thing. But what is interesting is how they keep hammering away at it. Fox keeps hammering away at it. And it's going nowhere. And I find that absolutely fascinating when you consider just how easy it was to bring Hillary down over email. You got anything on that? On Mr. Hunter Biden's story?
Yeah, well, I think a few things make it harder. I think one is there's probably just general Ukraine fatigue after impeachment. And so there's a reason Democrats haven't, made a big deal about Ukraine this year. So anything that gets you back into a lot of Cyrillic alphabets and such is just, I just don't know how many normal voters' eyes glaze over. Now, for the Fox News crowd, it's what they live for. But I think for regular people, not so much. And then it is the son, it's not him. So, I think people are sort of used to Billy Carter or, this and that. I think there's sort of, the relative is not the person. And so even if it's the kid, I just don't think it has the same gravity. And
let me also put this into that mix, which is it's partly because it's also Joe who has endured so much. And the kids getting hurt in the car accident, losing. I mean, there's a certain, it's just beyond ugly to go there.
Yeah, and also now after the opioid epidemic, so many people know someone with an addiction issue. I mean, they probably knew him even before the opioid thing. But now, they really, I think, stepped in it by going after Hunter Biden's, substance abuse problems. So it just turned out not to be good for them. And plus, Rudy went, crazy with this computer stuff. So
oh my God,
it didn't work. It didn't work. And I think if they had stuck to their knitting, to use that cliche, and just like taxes and immigration and other, issues.
Well, the fact of the matter is, maybe, but you know what? Trump's not an issues. He's really not. I mean, other than hating, it's all about hate the immigrants, hate the this, hate the that. Where is he on what issues? I mean, that's been,
No, I think, I think that stuff, Right, but he didn't even stick to that. He went to Hunter Biden and Joe is senile, which is
so ridiculous.
I don't think those were winning issues.
You think?
Because the Trump kids are grifters, and then Trump himself is an obese 74-year-old. So going after a somewhat slower 77-year-old was never going to be a great pitch. Yesterday he's going on and on about how he could take Biden in a fight. Nobody wants to see two men in their 70s.
Old men.
Fighting.
I mean, it's just no. Seriously, it's just it's crazy.
Not an image you even want in your head. It's too.
I know, but it's also bizarre. It really is. It really gives you an insight into Trump too, though, because the fact of the matter is, he won the first time by mistake. The pieces of the puzzle just came together for him, not out of any great thought processing or, whatever. I mean, it was a joke in a way. Hillary lost it. He didn't win it.
Totally
right. And so that's where we are. And he has BS'd his way through the last 4 years. And there we are. And chickens come home to roost. We find out who he really, really is. But I still look at those people, Matt, who are his dyed-in-the-wool followers, and I say, what are these people? Do they not see I know we'll go over this 1,000 times, and the history books will, ponder this forever. But what is the matter with these people? For God's sakes, he left them stranded in North Dakota in sub-zero weather, and they're still with him. I don't get it. Please explain it to me, because I don't get it. They're sitting there with no masks on their face when even the person who's before them got the damn disease, and they still are help. Because you know why it's important to discuss? Because even if Biden wins, these people are still there. This is still just a little bit less than 50% of America. And that is a scary prospect. They don't go away. Trump will. They don't. Thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, look, the super diehard MAGA types, I think we've, the Tea Party was kind of their coming out in a lot of ways. Maybe it was, over Vince Foster in the 90s and Clinton, believing Bill Clinton had murdered people. There is this streak in American politics, and you're right, they're not going anywhere.
See, I don't think it's a streak in American politics. Let me interject that. I think it's a streak in America, and that's what's scary about it.
Right. These are all like lifestyle choices, Priuses versus pickups, and Yeah, these people are deeply invested in this in a way that transcends politics. I agree with that. And they have a worldview that's very, I think deeply distorted. And I think you get a little bit of that on the left too, but not as much.
Oh wait, that's going to surface. That's going to surface though. Don't kid yourself. That left thing is as dangerous. Yeah, that's as dangerous as the right is. And anybody who wants to ignore that fact is foolhardy. I mean, last night, Bernie was on TV and I always forget her letters from Brooklyn. Yeah, you're going to owe us after this. We're going to have a large seat at Biden's table. Which is a stupid ass thing, forgive my language, to say 4 days or 5 days before the election anyway. Because if you did hold your tongue, could you hold it through November 3rd? But,
Yeah, I mean, so far Biden has done a pretty good job of incorporating them into the campaign. Then he's going to have to give them something in the, after he's there, he's going to have to give them jobs, and he's going to have to give them some policies, and
a seat at the table.
He's going to have to give him a seat at the table, but,
Yeah, I know. I know.
He can do that. I think he can thread the needle. I think he can do that in ways that are not going to endanger his presidency.
Yeah. I think if he does win, there's going to be a psychological sigh, not just from Democrats, but I think there may even be one from some Republicans, because I think everybody's exhausted.
I think that's right. And, I think you have to see how bad, if Biden wins, how bad the defeat is for Trump. And will it be this big enough to kind of shock, enough Republicans into...
Do you think it will be?
Changing their ways. I don't know. I think if Biden really wins, except states in the South, I think that will sort of shock them. I don't think, picking up the upper Midwest will enough. But if he wins Florida and Georgia, and then maybe North Carolina as well, I think that's going to freak them out a little bit.
What about
I think.
I was going to say, what about Texas?
Well, if he won Texas, I think they will justifiably be in a panic. Now, it may cause them to double down and just say, well, we need to be more conservative, or they'll just say, well, it was the tweeting that did it in Trump, We can be just as right-wing, but without the tweeting. I don't know. It took the Democrats, they had to lose in 80, 84, and 88 to give birth to Clinton. And, realize they had to change some things. I don't know what it's going to take for the Republicans.
Right. Let me veer off to another subject because I think we have to discuss it, and that's voter suppression. Because we're talking about those states where it's the most disgraceful, maybe Pennsylvania. They're trying, the Republicans. This is another thing that needs to be fixed. There have to be ways to fix this. This is out of control. But we even had a situation with Pennsylvania, and when that ballots can be counted, and it winds up, of course, where the Supreme Court, which opens up another can of worms. I'm going to let you do it. Amy Coney Barrett, the right of right wing becomes an associate justice. This woman's not normal. No way you can say she is. But she did recuse herself, right? For whatever it was worth.
She did indeed last night.
I think that's the only that's going to be her one big stab. Okay, I recused myself once, I don't have to do it again. But now there are now, I don't know how many, I think 3 or 4 on the Supreme Court who were part of Bush v. Gore, and she was one of them, who were young lawyers who worked on that case in Florida. But Kavanaugh, he got himself into some trouble too, because he didn't even have the facts in his brief or whatever they.
Right.
Talk to us about that, because that's goes to show you how unqualified or these last people have been to some degree on the court. Not his first mistake, by the way.
Yeah, well, the issue before the Supreme Court is these lower court rulings, some of which have gone against expanding, letting ballots come in, and some have constricted them. And Kavanaugh in Pennsylvania a few days ago came out very strongly for, not allowing ballots to come in after a deadline to be counted. He condemned a lower court ruling about it, and he seemed to, invite challenges to a lot of voting systems. It's all incredibly ironic because, as he said, Kavanaugh was part of the Bush v. Gore team, which had argued in court in Florida for counting ballots to Thanksgiving. They were arguing for all kinds of extensions in various counties. And so for him to be as incredibly sanctimonious now about, well, my goodness, we need deadlines. And deadlines are so very important. And, it's bullshit. Now, a lawyer is in a different position than a judge. And, there's something to that. But, come on. I mean, this is Brett Kavanaugh, political hack. The Supreme Court has been on both sides of these questions so far in the last couple of weeks, and we'll see what happens when they start getting cases on an emergency basis at midnight on November 4th.
Well, I think it's baked in the I think it's baked in the cake. If this thing isn't a solid win for Biden, I'm bringing this up, Matt, because it's my opinion that this is going to be a mess. They're going to go in every way, shape, and form to the Supreme Court, which they now own. So this isn't a secondary story. This should be a prime story, and people should be writing about this at the moment to give people fair warning about what's clearly about to happen. And I know Biden has lawyered up, but let's face
everybody's lawyered up.
Democrats stink
people are in better positions. Yeah.
Well, I just don't think the Democrats are good at fighting these kind of fights.
There's no question in Florida they were not ruthless of the way that James Baker and the Republicans were.
Well, I think that's historically the Democrats' problem. So I think, with fair warning, folks, you heard it here. Brace yourselves.
Absolutely. We're going to see if...
brace yourselves.
We're going to have to see how many Democratic ballots come in after the deadline.
And it's ludicrous.
And whether that's determinative.
Yeah. If they're postmarked before the time. And I'm going to give you a personal story. Postal Service here, right now, I spoke to the postmaster here. They are completely overwhelmed. They do not have staffing. They do not have the equipment. It was pulled. They are freaking out. And I had an experience with mail getting to another state that should take 3 days at the most. Now 2 weeks later, it's still not there. That's what's going on in the Postal Service.
No, I think it's true. And of course, it's not just by accident.
Right, exactly.
We reported the Washington Monthly, that there were efforts by the Postal Unions to try and reverse an order from the Postmaster General, which denied the ability of postal workers to be co-witnesses on absentee ballots. In some states, you need a witness. It's not just enough to send in the absentee ballot or the...
which is crazy, right? You have to have...
You need a witness. Yeah, you need a witness. So everybody was ready to have the postal worker be your witness. So you didn't have to run around and try to find, Aunt May to sign it. But, Louis DeJoy, Trump's Postmaster General, put the kibosh on that. And then other things, the postal, there were efforts to try to do a workaround so a lot of these ballots didn't have to go to central mail sorting facilities and could be much more direct. Those got stymied too. So, yeah, I think we've got a real post office problem.
Yeah, for sure. You are listening to the Halli Casser-Jayne Show. The Halli Casser-Jayne Show posts new podcasts weekly at HalliCasserJayne.com and is available wherever you listen to your podcasts. Be sure to find us on Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and on all your favorite apps. You can find the Halli Casser-Jayne Show on your Alexa device too. Just say the Halli Casser-Jayne Show. Oh, and come play with me on Twitter at Halli Show Quotes. In the interest of time, we move on the Latino vote.
So people should drop it off at the ballot.
Oh, absolutely.
If you got a ballot mail, a special ballot box,
go there.
Or just take it down to the Board of Elections or whatever. Or go to the poll early.
I did it. It was
at this late
painless.
Putting it in the regular mail is precarious.
Yeah, it's too late. Let's go to Latino vote for a second. Biden apparently is getting it, less so in Florida. Hillary in Florida had 62% of the Hispanic vote. Joe right now is leading only 48 to 43. Yikes. Now, I understand from my sources, Broward County in general is over the top in voting. Never happened before. Bigger than the state. More votes in Broward than across the state, which, and that's from Steve Shales, by the way, who's the guru of Florida voting. So that's good, but I am concerned about the Hispanic vote in Florida. Deeply concerned. You got any thoughts?
Yeah, well, I think for the Biden campaign, they want to get those numbers up, not just in Florida, but Arizona and Nevada and other places too. Trump has shown his, I think, remarkable resilience with Hispanic voters, given his positions on immigration and other things. But, he seems to be doing pretty well with Hispanic men, and there are a lot more Hispanic evangelicals now. And that's been an area of opportunity for him, where they're starting to vote more like white evangelicals. So, I think he's, that's a source of concern for Biden people.
So I had to take a trip across Florida last week to I-70 corridor, ranch after ranch after ranch. It's like South Fork in Dallas. With these big entrances.
Still cattle country.
I mean, oh my God. Huge American flags. Huge Biden signs. Didn't see one. Trump signs. Didn't see one Biden sign. Not one. Interesting. You'll find this fascinating. By the same token, every other ranch was for sale. I have never seen so many for sale signs in my life. And it's because they're getting killed because, they can't market their beef. Because of what happened with China. Again, voters, I don't get. You putting your ranch up for sale because you can't afford to keep your ranch. You can't afford to ranch anymore.
Ouch. Yeah, that's not good.
All right. So that was just an observation that I had, and I thought that was fascinating. I want to get to, by the way, the Marist poll this morning had Biden up by 4 in Florida. Just thought I'd throw that out for whatever it's worth. It's better to be up than down, as I'm sure you would say.
Well, that's not a lot up.
No, this is what I said to you when I look at all these polls, and it's only 4 or 3, and they're coming down because at one point it was a lot more. But it's Florida. I want to talk about these state races. It looks like my friend Steve Bullock in Montana is not going to be able to pull it off. He's been consistently below the sitting senator. What's your take on the Senate?
Well, I think it's still real tough. I mean, Mark Kelly's still in the fight in Arizona, and McSally's not a great candidate.
To say the least.
He's like a hero, so, it shouldn't be that hard for him. But it is. And, there are just so few ticket splitters. That's part of the problem. A lot of these seats that, Dems need to pick up are in pretty red states that Biden won't pick up. So that's tough for your buddy, Bullock out in Montana.
And they don't even like Steve Daines, by the way.
Collins could hang on.
No, she's right. She's now at toss-up again.
I don't think she will in the end, but, if they can't pick up Collins... Ugh.
Well, now, this is interesting. I didn't expect you to be...
They got to pick up 4 because Jones looks like he's a goner in Alabama.
Well, he was a goner before he started, so that's...
they got to pick up 4. That's... can they get... I think they're going to get Colorado. I think that's probably their best pickup chance at this point. Then Collins.
What about Lindsey Graham?
Tough. I think it's still tough.
Really? See, this is interesting to me from my observation. You're a lot less positive about this than I am on this one. I'm less positive on the presidential part, but you're less positive.
I just think these are tough states. I mean, if it were, if like Pat Toomey was up in Pennsylvania, the Republican senator there, I think, it'd be a pretty good year for Dems to knock him off. I just think it's tough. They have to win in places like Alaska. That's hard.
That's hard. That's scary. The only reason that I think the plus for the Democrats on that is COVID. That's what I think. Agree. Because this is hitting those states something fierce, and in ways that we never even saw before. as we move into talking about the virus. I mean, honestly, Matt, this is 10 times worse than March and April here. What's going on up in the upper Midwest, which is only going to go, south.
Right.
I mean, when Anthony Fauci becomes political to make the case, mandate the damn masks or we're in for hell. These people who are sitting in these red states that are getting, finding out this is no joke, that changes the picture a little bit, I think, a lot of ways. And, I don't want anybody to get sick and I don't want anybody to die, that's for sure. But it couldn't be happening at a better time because I think people are getting a reality thrown at them that they need to get thrown at them. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that's right. I think that's right, but I don't know if that's going to happen in time or in sufficient numbers to, move enough votes to make these Democratic Senate seats. I mean, I think the trends are pretty good for Democrats in the long run. A lot of these states, I think Montana starts to look more like Colorado after time. And,
yeah.
Arizona starts to look more like Nevada. But, we're not quite there yet. And I think it helps that Democrats have good candidates. Kelly's a great candidate. Gideon's a good candidate up in Maine, But they got a ways to go. At least the Democrats are not in a very defensive crouch on some of their seats, like, Michigan or New Hampshire. They're way ahead there. They're not in danger of losing Jeanne Shaheen or something.
I think
they lost one Senate race already in their career, so, incumbency.
I do think this, though. If Biden wins and he could get the Senate, I mean, they've got the House, but if he could get the Senate, then something really, truly meaningful can happen. If he doesn't, it's just going to be 4 more years of hell.
Yeah, well, you hate for it to be 2 years, again, going through the cycle of all the gains get reversed in 2 years.
Right. I mean, it's just going to be hell. It's just going to be hell. So my fingers are crossed there. I think the Dems should have made more out of these races than they did personally, and made them, because it's interesting. The ones that they nationalized, like what's his name from Georgia, that made a difference. Maine, everybody was hating on Susan Collins. That made a difference. Now she's in the background. She's not getting the bad press. Today is a great day to tell Susan Collins to go F herself. Those things aren't on Twitter anymore.
Yeah, I agree.
So I think the Dems in the next couple of days really ought to start nationalizing some of this to push this over the edge. I just don't know. I mean, it's the same thing. The only other thing I wanted to talk about the election before we really get into COVID is I have issues, and I know that my Twitter followers are like, "Shut up, Halli! Stop pushing down Joe." But you got to be realistic about these things, and I'm calling him on the fact that maybe yes, he's winning, but he could be winning by more. And I think it's been a mistake to keep him so home, like he was home yesterday, I think it was, and did a remote. And I know he and Obama are going to be in Michigan together. That's great, but I just think he should have been on the road more. And so.
Yeah, I think you're probably right, but not being on the road left more focus on Trump, and Trump's in the process of killing himself. So there's something to be said for holding back in this particular case.
Well, there is that. I get that, but I don't think that means he should have had any days down in the last week, even if it was just one appearance.
Well, I agree. That's weird to be out and be down in the last week.
Yeah. So I think that's a problem. And I know they don't want him to make any gaffes and screw it up at the last second.
Yeah, but at least go to Bucks County.
Exactly.
Down the street.
There you go. That's what I'm saying. So we agree on that. Let's talk stock market, which is crashing. A couple of things about that. Let's talk about the fact that it looks like Wall Street's gone full Biden. I think Wall Street figured out that until COVID is cured, if you will, the economy is not going to get better. and that Trump's way of handling things is not doing it. I've been reading all sorts of stuff about this. Didn't even just happen. This is a reflective of what happened months ago, because the market is definitely the bubble has burst in technology, which I find fascinating. And again, here's another one. You'd think that the Dems would be making hay out of this because it's the only argument that Trump has had. Not that anybody is, and everybody has money in the stock market. But this could be a windfall for him at the end, and here it is, and you're not getting as much play off of this as I thought they ought to get. You got any thoughts on that?
Well, I know what you mean. I just think the market's shown a lot of resiliency during all this, and it's was up 29. I guess it's somewhere in the 26s now. I don't know where it's been today since the good news about the GDP in the third quarter. So I don't know if it's moving enough to move voters at the last minute.
Remember what I said about the GDP, by the way, being yesterday's news?
No, I agree.
Because that's going to be their argument, because, Trump is going to be out there screaming.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
no, of course. And
yeah.
we've got more COVID ahead. Still, it's better than nothing. It's
just thought we should bring that up.
Is.
I just thought we should bring that up.
I agree.
Yeah.
I think you're wise to watch it. I think with Fridays, there's not enough yet to. I don't think it's going to move enough voters at the end.
So let's move in this direction. COVID rising. Hospitals truly overwhelmed. No planning for what new was coming. But Trump says there's just too much COVID, too much COVID, too much COVID. Bending the curve. What a crocker. Yeah.
Yeah, well, what else? He's an idiot. There's too much COVID. Yeah, it's like a 9/11 every day. A week. I don't know.
I mean, it's just so silly. This Jared Kushner story with him saying Trump took COVID back from the doctors. I mean, what do you make of that?
I don't think I saw that. What did he say?
They sent some tape out from what's his name? Bob Woodward had taped him. And it was a very bizarre interview, just an elitist point of view towards the whole damn thing. And he said, it's not a story. And anyway, where we are now is, enough with the doctors. Trump took COVID back from the doctors and it belongs in the States. And it's when all hell broke loose is what happened I think it was taped back in March or April or something for Woodward's book. So you have him basically saying it, without meaning to say it at the time, Trump took the COVID back from the doctors. It's all on Trump. I mean, it's kind of ludicrous, but it speaks to an arrogance that was just, from a guy who doesn't know anything about anything. And
yeah,
anything about anything. It's just what. Oh, by the way, I have a note here. Let me get to it because for 5 minutes I've been trying to say it. Pence gets exposed. They can't even keep the damn virus out of the White House. They can't keep it out of the West Wing. They can't keep it out of anywhere. 5 of the Pence's top guys, get the virus. Pence was exposed. I mean, his right-hand man, his body man, they were all infected, and Pence was on the road. Matt, you can't make this stuff up. These people are just ruthless.
We're stupid. I mean, it's.
You think it's stupid? You can't be that stupid. It's ruthless.
To contract the virus?
No, they are. No, I don't think that they're stupid. I think that we're going to barrel through. This is the way they think. The only thing that matters is that we get ourselves reelected and we will lie, steal, cheat, and whatever. Ruthless. It's not stupidity. They know what the risks are. It's ruthless. I'm willing to do that. Now, you may call that stupid. I call it ruthless because that's what it takes.
I thought you were referring to contracting COVID.
Well,
not to continuing to campaign with COVID, but either way, yes.
You see what I'm saying? I mean, and I don't care if we expose you or not. It doesn't matter to me because I'm going to get where I need to go no matter what I need to do to get there. Which is the whole problem with America, by the way, right now, because, I've got this theory about capitalism imploding. I think we're where we are. Because somewhere along the line after World War II, the story became, make money. That's all that matters. It's all about making money. You do what you have to do to make money. And morality just went flying out the doors. And I think this is the backlash of that. But, you probably think I'm off my wall again, but that's fine. I think there is that. I think we have to really take a look at who we are as a people, what's important. The family went out the window. None of that matters. Just make a lot of money at whatever cost. And I think that's what's in Pence's head. See, I think he's the worst of all of them. In some ways, I think he's worse than Trump. Because Trump is just an idiot. I think I wrote that on Twitter the other day. The one story that journalists have not pursued is the fact that Trump is not the brightest light bulb in the room. He's not. He's lucky as shit. But he's not always the smartest guy in the room. Pence is not an idiot. I mean, he's a fool. There's a difference, but he's not an idiot. Got anything? You're so quiet at the other end. I'm like, oh.
No, I'm just taking it all.
I'm like, wait a minute. It's like Matt to be so quiet. He's letting me drown in my own crazy.
I'm absorbing it all. Yeah, well, look, Pence is.
Yeah, do I have a point?
Pence was a Trump critic in 2016 until he wasn't. And,
right. He's just a ruthless cynic.
Yeah, look, he wants to be president. He will, and he's decided that, he's all in with the Donald, and he's going to be there till the end, and that's his path. And, I'm sure he believes it's God's mission for him, and, he's not going to deviate. He's not going to let having COVID stop him. He's going to just be out there fulfilling his plan. And
these are horrible people. All of them are just hard people. Speaking of hard people, where's Bill Barr? Have you seen him lately? I haven't even seen a picture of him.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen him since those reports that Trump was mad that he wasn't indicting Obama or putting
since
the
COVID
cuffs on Hillary.
Or COVID.
Yeah, it's definitely off the radar.
Yeah, fascinating. I mean,
I know you miss him. I know you miss him.
I'm just like, I think he's another fool, another dangerous fool. Can I get back to Florida for 1 second before we wrap this up? I know we talked about this a couple of weeks ago, but I want to bring it up again because there was today a story broke that made it abundantly clear I was correct about this. I think I told you that. First of all, Ron DeSantis, the governor down here, who started off in such good shape and was really, right down the center, and everybody was loving him, and his poll numbers went to the roof. Well, his poll numbers he's like the lowest governor in the entire country because of his craziness with the way he's handled COVID down here. But it was clear to me a while ago that what he was doing is, we're going to open up the economy. We're going to do everything we have to do because there is no COVID. And what he was doing was herd immunity. So now it turns out that Dr. Atlas, the crazy doctor who is now running everything for Trump, who even the doctors at Stanford, where he's out of, say the guy's a kook, they started with don't test. And I think I told you that. I said they weren't doing a lot of testing. Testing was like halved. And we know the numbers are off and skewed. And even last week, they threw it out that they weren't going to show the COVID numbers every day because they were freaking out when they were seeing their inside numbers, how bad they were. Atlas is in control of Florida, and this is a state where they're trying to test this herd immunity thing. And of course, it's not working because our numbers are going up, day by day by day by day by day. So if you're listening, folks, and you're in Florida, and you're thinking about voting for Trump, you're going to kill yourselves because they want to use Florida as a test on this herd immunity. And the vaccine is not going to be here like Trump said it was in November. It probably won't be here until December. And now Fauci yesterday said he didn't even think he was sure we would see it in January. So, hello. That's my point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's... I think DeSantis...
really a horrible human being. Stupid as all get up.
I mean, he's yoked himself to Trump, and I think it'll be the end of him.
Well, it should be, because he's a moron. He's a moron. Can I just go back? I want to clean something up. A couple of weeks ago, I went after Kamala and said I didn't like the way she was dressed, and I thought she was being a little too cutesy and not vice presidential enough. And in fact, that he barely used her. I mean, Kamala who? Peggy Noonan, Reagan's old speechwriter, brilliant speechwriter, who now is a columnist for the Wall Street Journal, came out and said the same thing that I did, and boy, they beat the crap out of her. My God. Called it racist to say that. I disagree. But I thought that we should discuss.
I was just trying to spare you. I was trying to spare you that abuse. Just kept trying to give you exit ramps.
What's got to be said has got to be said. That's what I have to say.
Yeah, well, if Biden loses by 10 votes, we can blame the Timberlands or whatever.
Okay, wise guy. All right.
If he wins, we may not remember.
We won't remember at all. But do you think she's not being used as much as most running mates are?
Well, I think she's...
I mean, this isn't Bill Clinton, Al Gore.
I'm sure there's a method to the madness, but she's certainly getting used to drive up black turnout. But she's going to places that are not African American. I don't have a good sense. I don't know what would be the best use for her, the best places for her to visit, the best things for her to do. But
they're not buddies. They're not buddies. Just thought I'd raise that. They're not buddies. And so maybe that's, they're certainly not Biden Obama.
Yeah, but Biden Obama didn't start as Biden Obama,
Yeah, maybe. So, anything you want to predict for...
I think her husband's doing very well, from what I hear.
Okay.
No, I think Doug. I think they've found him to be a pretty good campaigner.
He's a mensch.
Yeah, I think he's doing pretty well.
Yeah, he's definitely a mensch. Okay, so anything you want to throw out here before we bring this to a close?
I think I just say, Halli, it's been a great run. It's been amazing. It feels like 100 years ago we started this thing.
One more week at least, buddy. If we can make it through.
We'll see you in court.
Let me end on this. The Girl Scouts of America posted a congratulations to Amy Coney Barrett last night. And Girl Scouts across America, and I mean as a pun and I mean it in reality, lost their cookies about it. I
get what you're saying.
I be one of them. As a member in standing of Girl Scout Troop 655 from Englewood, New Jersey, this morning they took the congratulations down from the Girl Scout web. On my honor. That's all I got to say, darling. See you next week.
Okay. I will see you next time.
All right,
stay
sweetie.
strong.
You too, babe. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you for tuning in to the Halli Casser-Jayne Show, a production of Resec LLC. The Halli Casser-Jayne Show posts new podcasts Wednesdays, 3 p.m. Eastern, and is available at hallicasserjayne.com and on all your favorite apps. Be sure to visit us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and follow me on Twitter at The Halli CJ Show. Until next time, this is Halli Casser-Jayne.